Up there.
Continuing my discussion on, not gambling with things. This is a part 2 of my encounter with the supernatural. And when I was telling about the supernatural, and when I was away at school, there was a guy that was in my room. This is in Southwest Ohio, back in the early '90s, and he just wanted to prove to me that he can, do some kind of cult calling, devil worshiping, whatever. He's trying to summon the devil. I don't know. Young people got, particularly, so a certain demographic of young people like to do crazy stuff like that. And I'm like, man, I don't want to hear you chant to do nothing. Whatever it is, you need to back down with that stuff. And I said, I don't want nothing summoning in this room, because I had shared a room with him at the time. And he told me after when he did that something, 2 angels came to him, and a Native American woman came to him in a dream. And the 2 angels warned him, next time you do something like that, we're not going to be able to save you from the enemy. And they were really stern with it. Because I was like, that's good. I told them, that's good for you. Because I said, hey, I didn't agree to you summoning something like that in the room. I don't know what make you want to do something like that. I don't know, you're trying to impress me. And I said, hey, I don't want to know, and I don't care to know about that. But anyway, a lot of stuff bad happened thanks to when we was away at college, and he almost got jumped upon about some dudes down there for something that he said about a dude, and some dude went to go confront him. I mean, he had all kind of bad things happen to him. So it doesn't pay to mess around with something that's evil. But I have some good things that happen in the supernatural too. Before the incident with the Ouija board, before my father passed away, I had an encounter with God, and how I knew it was God, and it was one night I laid down, and as I laid down, my body rose up out my it feel like my spirit or soul or something rose up out, and I could see myself sleeping down in the bed. So I went to go, and I feel like I was traveling. I went up into the sky, I feel like I went up into the clouds, and I went with the location inside of this house where my acquaintances was known at the time. The room was a huge room, and it had like one archway doors, whatever. So what happened was, as I it's kind of thunder, and I hope it don't interfere with the connection. But anyway, as I'm going through, I entered through this doorway, and it was like it was now. It looked like it was right now. The atmosphere. It wasn't no sound, no really weird effects in the dream, and the dream was very, very still. It was very, very. It's almost like a dream vision, but it was so real. It was so real. It was because I remember in the dream, and I seen the clock. There was a clock in his house at the time, and I looked at the time, and it never moved. It stayed at, I think it was 2:20, 2:25 for eternity. Meanwhile, I'm looking around the atmosphere. There's about 7 angels that was in, and I'm just fascinated looking at these angels in his atmosphere. And I was in a real peaceful setting. And then there was a man that he was sitting on the couch, but I couldn't see from his neck on up in the dream. But in the dream, I could see myself looking directly at him, and I was just smiling away and talking with him. And we had a short conversation in the dream. He had on a long white gown. I remember he had a long white gown, and so we sitting there talking in the dream. And all of a sudden, I asked, for some reason, I asked where his son was at, and he told me to go over and walk over in this one area of the room. When I went over there, I stood in the room. It's like a portal open up, like a white portal, like a light, bright sunlight portal, and like a doorway open up. And when he walked through, I was shocked, and I didn't know whether to bow. I didn't do anything. I was so floored because it seemed like my spirit knew who he was, and immediately I knew who my spirit knew who he was, and I was so shocked. And he had a beautiful grin on his face. I remember doing this in a dream, and I remember he was gold dark. I mean, he was darker than me, like someone just come up out of the sun. I mean, he was dark. I mean, gold dark. I mean, very, very. I mean, dark. Cause I remember doing like this, and I kind of looked, and I was like, and I looked, and he didn't look like what Christianity painted him in the paintings. He did not look like that. He didn't have no sandy blonde hair and blue eyes, or brown eyes, or sandy blonde hair. Look what they portray him in the movies. He did not look like that in the afterlife. What it looked like, and he looked at like what the book of Revelation was. I mean, his skin was dark and bronze. It was a dark bronze, golden skin, and I was just shocked. And he had the beautiful smile I ever seen on a person. And he came over and he gave me a hug, and I felt liquid love. I felt comfort and peace. And it's like, and I remember saying to him, "You're him," and he just nodded his head. He said, "Yes, I am." And I just sat there and just looking at him, gazing at him, and talking with him for me. He's like reassuring me things are going to be all right. And so as we sitting there, as we talking, he goes back into the dimension. I wanted to go with him because it felt so peaceful and love and accepting at the time. And so as he proceeded to go back through the door, the one out of the book of Revelation, and an angel appeared, and it was like, shoo, it was like something out of Hollywood was got this right, where an angel appeared like in a telegram, like a telepathogram, and the angel told him Satan is causing something in the atmosphere. So the man, who I couldn't see his face, I can only see from here on down. I couldn't see his face, but it's kind of hard to explain. But I could see myself. I could see him, but I can't put it in my. It was kind of strange. I couldn't register what he looked like. But in the dream, I could look directly at him, and he said, "We got to go." And I said, "Okay." And so, and he told me, "Proceed, walk." So as I proceed to walk through the door, I'll go out, and it's like it's at nighttime, like I'm in outer space somewhere, and I'm hovering over a place where I lived at the time. And as I see myself laying there, I'm just sleeping in this position. I came back down inside my body, and I woke right back up. And I was so hyped up. To this day, and that was over 30 some years ago. I still remember like it's clear to this day, and it's been a blessing to have to keep remembering that forever, because once you experience something some magnitude, and ever since then, over the years, I experienced, the kingdom of God, and it's almost like and then that's when I messed with the other side, that's when the other dimension, I saw the other dimension. But God reassured me that, just before my dad, and after that, when that incident happened, a couple of days later, my dad passed away, and that was God reassuring me that He's going to take my dad. And it was shocking. It don't really hit you, death don't really, until that happens. And so that's something that I'll never forget. So Christ do exist. Mr. Messiah, Yeshua, the one who came to die on the cross, He exists. Don't let people tell you just some mythical man. Don't let people tell you it was just some story or whatever. No, he exists. He exists. He exists. What He did on the cross exists. He is in heaven. He's and I got to repeat before, He's the only one that can stand up to the enemy in the dark kingdom, and they will bow down to Him. And I mean, everything is going to bow down to Christ. You're not going to war against Him, whether you're a witch or warlock or anything, magician, anything. You don't have the power, because He has the ultimate power. He is the power. Through His Father, He is the power. He is the one, and that's something that I personally know. And He got a whole army of angels, and the legacy, and even in the book, not only in the Bible, but you read in the Apocrypha, in the book of Enoch, you study, and you see how powerful His army is. It tells you about how powerful even His army. I mean, each angel. I mean, the Bible only mentioned 2, but there's actually four archangels. I mean, just alone, that's gonna come back in that army, and they're powerful. Michael is powerful, and Gabriel is really powerful. They're the ones that's in the Bible. But you have Uriel, you have Raphael, and then that's just then you ain't including all the other powerful angels that's up under the Father. I mean, that surround His court. I mean, you got some powerful beings up under His kingdom. So, I mean, Jesus has some powerful beings next to Jesus. He has the ultimate power, but all those other beings, that the book of Revelation mentioned about also too has powerful. And some people have encountered, I guess it depends on their spiritual walk or their openness or their relationship with God, that He's revealed that. I mean, you got 30 foot tall angels is in the kingdom. I mean, this is fact. People encounter there's stories about that out there. But this is very true. And the one thing, that kingdom is going to confront that dark kingdom. It's going to put them down, and it's going to be an open shut door case. Everything is shut down when that time when Shu hit the planet with his army. Everything's going to be shut down, and I do believe that. And as we prepare to go further into the one after the other, when we at the last hour, and when the Almighty steps through with His army, that's it. It's a wrap. So that's one thing, and it's going to happen. It's going to happen in our lifetime. As it's one. I mean, those of us that's going to be who wake up every day in the land of the living, we're going to be able to witness this, and they've been waiting for this in the generations in the Bible that God gave to the past prophets in the Word, that this was going to happen. And so we are that generation to see that, and that's which is guaranteed. And I know a lot of people want to believe it, but the reality of it is it's happening. And the reality of it, there is another dimension. the reality of it is that I've encountered in my length of time, even in prayer and worship. One time I was at, even in past times I was at the church, and I had experienced the awesome side of the supernatural, which could come from God. I had experienced His kingdom. I remember one time I was in the church, and you can be around people on a hot summer day, and you can feel the body heat of other people around you. And I remember this one incident where the lady was praying for this lady down at the prayer altar, and she prayed so hard that I felt the force. And I was just sitting there praying, and praying. All of a sudden, I felt something go through me, and it kind of tickled me inside, like ooh, like. And I turned to I didn't say that until later on, after the church, and I said, "Brother, did you feel that air come through?" And no one, people people like, "Oh, bless you, my brother." No, I didn't experience anything, but it felt like my insides was tickled, and it felt good because I was going through a down day, and being around people I wasn't sure, and it come on through, and I've been touched in that way. Another way I've experienced is just after the incident. Over the years, I remember one time I was in my apartment, and I don't know, out of the blue, you close your eye, and all of a sudden, as soon as I close my eye, and I'm sitting there at the edge of my chair, immediately as I close my eyes, I don't meant to say I was in prayer or something like that, but it was immediately I saw an angel standing over me, looking down at me, and he was like this. It's like he was touching my head. I mean, he was really. I mean, it's like it's like someone doing like whatever was a spirit or something looking directly into his face, and it was like it was kind of, I could see his, the form of his spiritual body, and he was just touching me on the top of my head. That was one incident I had with one of the many couple incidents I've had with angels of the Father. I want to make that clearly. Have experiences with angels from the Father. Another incident was just recently, not too long ago. I was in a dream, and usually there's a Hebraic ministry that these young men have in South Carolina. They're African American, and these brothers have the truth. I mean, and I could tell, and how I know that they're legit, because all of a sudden these angels was in one night. I woke up in the middle. Before I woke up, when you coming out of sleep, I was shown this in a dream. So as I'm in the dream walking through this house, and I recognized one of the guys as I seen on the computer, or I seen on his website, and he's a brother that he's an African American brother. He said, brother, he offered me some food in the dream, and then as he's walking through his house, and he's aligning himself with 3/4 of the house, and his assistant, which is his other buddy, who's also in the ministry, came in and went back out. And he said to me, and I looked directly because he was wearing a white priestly gown, and he said that the Gentiles, the white people, are coming in to sit down and sup with us. And all of a sudden, before that happened, I remember before I got to met up with him in a dream, these 3 angels was walking in the dream. And I don't know how some people, it's funny how some people can communicate with the angels, but it's like when I'm walking down, they're just walking. Anybody that can have dream of angels, they don't say too much. They just look at you. They just smile and look at you. And it's like a telepathic thing. It's like and I remember looking at the one particular angel, and as the two angels passed and before I met up with the African American brother celebrating this festival, and me and his angels is making contact, and I guess he was like, he just smiled. He knew I was, as they asked what's going on in the dream. He would tell me, you know, what it was. He would tell me, and I asked my friend who have a relationship with God, because I have a spiritual mentor, and she have experiences too with God, and we talk about the Lord all the time. I said, why do angels don't ever say anything? And she said they just come down and do whatever they do, and they already knew that, but they can't say nothing, whatever the Father prepared them, to say. And I said, it's just strange, because he just looked at me. The angel just looked at me in the dream. So I said, okay, that kind of left me mystified. So after I went through the house, this particular house, and I went to go get some. The food was like berries and nuts or something like that. It was something in the dream, and some signify some kind of nut. And I sat down, and so after the offering, these people come through the door 2 by 2, and they just come in like you would come into a church, and they sat down, and they just sat there on the couch and just sat there and start praying. They both come down, they sat there and start praying, like they were waiting for something, they were preparing for something. And this is a truth, and it was really something. It was very, very powerful, and that the guy, as soon as he said this, in the ministry, which is out South Carolina, they call it rebirth. That was the man that was in the dream, and he was, because he's a dark complected man. He's peculiar looking person, and I know that's just the glory of God on him and everything. And he's, some people are just peculiar people. When you see that they stand out, it's something special about this person. And see, some of the summer dream is just, I sat down. But that was one incident. The other incident I can recall a long time ago, back in my mother and her second husband was married, and he was in prison at the time. She met him behind bars. So this one time, we stayed in Cincinnati, and his son, his natural son, we rolled up to go meet him at the prison, and just before we left, you know how in the prison they take pictures of they have family photos, and you stand against the wall. So this one particular time, we go to visit him in the prison up and down in Southwest Ohio, and we stand behind the wall, and they take a picture, and at the time they give you that, remember with the like the Kodak or the Polaroid when they had the flash, and I looked at that, and it was really strange. I said, who is that standing behind him? Who is that standing behind us? And you saw this, he's like 6'2". He's a pretty tall dude. I'm like 5'9". His son's like 5'5", 5'6" at the time, because he's like a kid. But this angel, it was an angel in the prison, and he stood about 7 to 8 feet tall over us. He's standing, and you could see the tip of his wing, like his back, like his wing in the back over us. And I'm like, I said, that's an angel. I was just blown away. I never saw that picture again, but he gave it to his mom, who's now deceased. But there was an angel in the picture. I don't know how the camera was able to capture this angel, but it was able to capture the angels, and it's just right. It's like cameras can go into a whole different dimension and snap whatever's outside that dimension. But that was the one of the many incidents, and that's just the good part about it. And of course, I've kind of other stuff in my past as far as the encounter Me and my buddy John one time encountered something. It was a ghost down in this particular township, next township that he had a friend that he worked with, and we standing outside talking. It was afternoon going into the evening time, and I just happened, and it was an empty house next door where she lived at, and so I happened to just looking up, and I look up at the house, and there's a woman standing in the window. And she like her hair like something back in the 1800s. I said, hey, who live in that house? And they said that there's no one living over there. I said, but there's a woman, and there's a woman staring out the window, and it was like in a ghostly form, like in a shadow ghostly form. So I think we better go. We better get the heck on out of here. But before I said that, something felt like reached and touched my friend's shoulder. He jumped back and he jumped. As he said, I think better get out of it. We took off. We were gone. It was really strange. As soon as I seen, looking up at the woman from the 1800s and her shadow figure, all of a sudden something at the same time touched my friend's shoulder. One of my good buddies. It touched his shoulder. We were gone, man. We were gone. We didn't take around. That was the crazy experiences we ever had out of the supernatural. But yeah, it does exist. Some people don't want to believe it, but the supernatural exists. It really does. But that's one of my chapters experiencing. I mean, that's my second version of it. But I hope this sounds, enlightening. So the overall, the message I want to leave is that watch what you entertain from the dark side. Don't open up any doors, and pray to God, and He exists. Don't dabble with anything outside the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, and the kingdom of heaven. It will keep you at peace. That's the only one you need to see in the supernatural. If anything, see them. You don't want to see anything else outside the supernatural, because anything else is not foreign. This could be a fallen angels or fallen beings, ghosts, familiar spirits, and they might appear to be friendly, but you don't know. They could be deceiving. So be careful what you dabble into. Well, my name is James. Until next time, you guys be blessed out there, and be blessed. Take care now, and remember, don't dabble in something in the darkness. Don't dabble in magic. Don't dabble in any of that stuff, because the result can be deadly.